Such a packed house. My name is Greg Jernigan. I'm the director of MountainTrue's Hendersonville office. I'd also like to introduce Julie Mayfield here, who's the co-director of MountainTrue. For those that don't know, we're a regional nonprofit environmental advocacy organization serving 23 counties in western North Carolina. We operate in 4 program areas with clean waters, resilient forests, green energy, and healthy communities. And as part of that work, when issues arise in the legislature that fall into any of those categories and things that are going to impact the environment of western North Carolina, we lobby our legislators. And part of the purpose of this event is to build those relationships with candidates that are eventually going to be into office, and to also allow them to get to know us and get to know our work and all of you good folks that are part of our community. So, as for the format of tonight, we're very happy to have the 2 candidates in the District 113 race, Maureen Copelof and Cody Henson. To the format, I've asked them each to prepare about a 10-minute stump speech, introducing themselves, focusing on some of their environmental philosophies and philosophies toward environmental protection and regulation. And then we will break after that. We're not going to have an open question and answer session. We're going to break for an informal meet and greet. And so I encourage you to stick around, have some refreshments, and get to know the candidates one-on-one and learn what they stand for. So without further ado, I will go ahead and introduce Maureen Copelof to come up here first.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Ray, and I really want to thank MountainTrue for going to the trouble of organizing this. This is a great opportunity to get out in front of everybody and express some of my thoughts about the environment to people that care so much about it. I'm Maureen Copelof. I'm running for the North Carolina House for District 113. This is my first time running for a political office. My background is military. I was in the United States Navy for 30 years. I'm a retired Navy captain. And so mostly, the question I first get is, why in the world are you running for a political office? Well, one thing the Navy taught me was that when you see something that needs to be corrected, you don't ignore it. You don't say, well, somebody else can step up and do it. You step up, you do everything you can, you take responsibility, and you try to make it better. Well, I was not happy with a lot of the legislation that was happening in Raleigh, and I decided it was simply time to step up and see if I could do a little bit better. My platform has 4 planks to it. Okay. First is living wage jobs. The second is good, high-quality public education. The third is affordable health care. And the 4th plank is the environment. And these 4 areas all are critical, and they all work together in terms of really creating a high quality of life for the people. You can't have just one. If you just concentrate in one of those 4, it's not going to work. You've got to balance those 4. And so people will say, well, if you care about jobs, you can't care about the environment. Or if you care about the environment, you can't care about jobs. See, I think that is totally wrong. There is absolutely a way to balance those 2 and to actually use the environment and a healthy environment and our environmental policies to encourage and attract businesses to western North Carolina. Now, I am not happy with the direction that North Carolina has gone with environmental policies. I think we have gone in the wrong direction. I am not happy with what they've done with the Department of Environmental Quality, the DEQ. I think they have weakened the DEQ. They have turned it into a political organization instead of really an effective oversight organization. Now, there are a lot of companies out there that absolutely care about the environment and are wonderful partners environmentally. And that's wonderful. But there are some that aren't. Accidents happen. Things happen. You've got to have an organization at the state level that has the manpower and the resources to oversee and enforce environmental protection for the state. You absolutely have to have that. And what's happening now is we've cut back on the inspectors, we've cut back on the authority of the DEQ, and so they really aren't performing that to the level that I think they really need to. Now let's talk about some specific environmental areas. I think the environment is so important, and one of the things that we have to do first off is we need to make sure that our representatives in Raleigh understand that climate change is happening. We're seeing it happen. This denial of climate change and the importance of climate change, or the fact that we need to deal or make policies with climate change, we need to get over that. We need to get, climate change should not be a partisan issue at all. It is a human issue, and it is starting to affect our world. So we've got to get the politics out of some of this, the partisan politics. Because I think we really need to start looking at our policies, and there are a lot of things we can do at the state level. And I'm going to talk on some specific areas. First, let's talk about energy. Okay? We all need energy, we all want energy. Well, we need to be concentrating on the future energy. We need to be concentrating on solar energy. We need to be giving tax incentives for solar energy. We need to be approving third-party solar energy sales. We need to be attracting industry that is focused on renewable energy like solar or wind or water. Instead, our current legislators have gone the opposite direction. They have taken away the incentives. They have instead rewarded the fossil fuel industry, taking care of special interests. And to me, that's not the way to be going. We need to be trying to comply with the federal government, with the EPA Clean Air Act standards. Instead of doing that, we are fighting it in court. Well, that's going to be a waste of money. And eventually, we're going to have to comply. So what we ought to be doing is making a plan now to comply with EPA standards and reduce carbon emissions. Why not? But we need to be looking at the future of energy. And that leads me to fracking. Okay? Fracking. We just authorized fracking in North Carolina. Not only did the legislature authorize fracking, we are now subsidizing the fracking companies. Okay?
Oh my gosh.
So, not only have we eliminated the incentives for solar, we're going in the opposite direction. I do not believe North Carolina should allow fracking. We do not fully understand the environmental dangers that are associated with it. There are increased earthquakes. There is disruption of the groundwater. There is the shooting of chemicals into the earth. It goes on and on. And we see effects, but I'm not sure we even know all of the effects yet. And that's certainly something I don't think that we want to have happening in our state. And I think in Raleigh, they even overruled local municipalities that tried to pass ordinances saying no fracking in this county, and they overruled it. So I think we've gone in the wrong direction with fracking. So, okay. Let's talk about coal ash. Okay, there's another one. Coal ash is a problem. It's impacting the water. And water is one of our essential resources. Water is essential to life. Water, we take water for granted, don't we? I take it for granted. I probably waste way too much water. But water is an essential resource. And it's going to become more and more important. And who controls that water and protecting the quality of our groundwater is absolutely essential. And how do we do that? Well, certainly it hasn't been done where those coal ash pits are. Those people that live near them cannot drink the water in their house. And instead of getting good information from their government, they got bad information. We had scientists quitting working for the state because of the deceptive information that was put out about the quality of the drinking water to the people living near the coal ash contamination. Well, the fundamental role of government is to ensure the health and well-being of the people. So our legislators have forgotten the fundamental rule. It's not to take care of Duke Energy. It's to take care of those people that can't drink the water in their house. Now, Duke Energy was not given a sufficient fine. And I will grant it was an accident. I will grant they had absolutely no ill intent. But you still are responsible for the impact of what you cause. And we have given them way too many years and too little cleanup responsibility. So we've got to get back and put the emphasis back on helping the people, not special interests. Okay, other environmental issues. Let's talk about our forests, right? Now, one of the reasons we all live here, our beautiful forests, our waterfalls, our mountains. Well, we've got to make sure that we protect and preserve these. And there are some issues that come up because we have a lot of different competing interests in terms of who can do what in our forests. And how do we maintain our forests? How do we make sure that we maintain them for the future and at the same time allow citizens to use them for recreation? How do we balance the use of recreation with maintaining the unique ecosystems and the diversity of the plant and wildlife that exists out there? There's got to be a balance. And I think the Forest Service has been doing an absolutely great job in the way they have been approaching looking at these issues. And that's collaboratively. That's collaboratively getting the input from people. Now, when I think of the forest, I think of, I like to go hiking. Okay? I don't necessarily think, gee, fishing. I'm not a fisherman. But talking to other people, they say, well, we like to use it for fishing, or we like to go hunting, or we like to go down, in the streams and ride tubes or whatever. And lots of different perspectives. And so the forests are something. Our national parks, our state recreation areas, they belong to all of us. And so we need to make sure that we really are making good, sound decisions in terms of how we preserve this, how we use it, and how do we effectively make sure that we have funded these at the level that they need to be so that we can maintain them properly. These are all things that come up with your representative in Raleigh. So it's important that you're looking at somebody and that when you elect somebody, it's somebody who understands the depth of these issues. I will talk about one. I'm probably running out of my time slide. I'm going to talk about one more area. One more area. Okay. All right. I can go on for a long time, and I'll be happy to take all your questions and talk as much as you want after this. One last area, and that is I'm going to talk about is the Rail to Trail project. Okay. I am absolutely for that project. I think that would be a great benefit to the community. That's, the Acoustic Trail runs Hendersonville over into Brevard. It's 19 miles right now of unused railroad track. That railroad has been sitting for 13 years unused by rail, and it's just deteriorating. I believe it's time to take that and turn it into an asset for the counties. Something that could benefit the people. It could be rail banked, so it's still available. It could be converted back to rail if in the future an industry came in and there was in fact a profitable way to use it for rail. But it would also allow companies to come in. It would bring in tourists. They estimate that the annual increase in revenue by doing this trail is $9.5 million. There's a one-time, something like $40 million one-time return on investment, from all the construction and building and getting in place. But annually, about $10 million, And not only is it good economically, it's good for the health, it gets people outdoors, it provides an alternative transportation system, and it gets the bicycles off the road. Because if you drive that road between Brevard and Hendersonville, you know how dangerous it is for a bicyclist. So it's good from a safety perspective. So I think there are an incredible number of things that we can do environmentally to make things better. But we've got to have the will, we've got to approach it with that perspective that, it's not this or that. You can be environmentally sound, you can make good economical environmental decisions that are good for businesses, good for the people, good for the health of the community, and that preserves the environment for the future of our children. So the environment is one of those 4 planks in my platform because I feel passionately about nature and the environment. So I know they're going to throw me off, but thank you very much for listening, and that's a little bit. I'm happy to take questions and talk to you in more detail afterwards. Thank you all.
Copelof. Mr. Henson, you're up.
All right. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out here today.